Hey, welcome. So we are back with some more woodworking slash some CNC work. Gonna put some nice straight edges on some pieces of wood. These pieces of wood have an enormous amount of worm damage. So I'm pretty sure this tree was very sick when it was taken down, because the more you plane it, the more wormholes you find and all that. So it was pretty it was pretty riddled with it. I still think that it's beautiful. I do believe that it is pine. It sure smelled like pine. And we had bought these pieces of wood quite a while back, and it was definitely over a year ago, year and a half maybe, I don't really know. But I glue them up after I got the straight edges, and there was I ended up having 3 glue ups in total. And I probably should have used type on 3, but I did not. I used type on 2, but it'll be okay because I did end up finishing these, but they are outside. But it is only a seasonal thing, so it's not really that big of a deal. But I think this is the best glue up job that I could do. And here's my hubby helping me. But yeah, I worked really hard on it. I was like, oh, how am I gonna get this flat? So my hubby recommended sandwiching it with the pieces of wood, so it worked out. And then I just clean up the glue. Now to get to sanding, you just want to remove any of the excess glue that you may have missed. And so that's what I'm doing here. I spared you from the majority of it and just put very little in there. And then I put these pieces of boards on the CNC, on the LongMill. So what I'm making is some Halloween decorations. Now, Halloween is not really my thing, but I figured, because I've seen a lot of tombstones, and most of them have, I don't know, some kind of very Halloween kind of theme to them, and I'm still a little salty about how Marvel did some of those characters. Just a little salty about it, okay? So this is really my fan art for the Marvel characters that I was so sad to lose. And so that's what it ends up being. They're going to be headstones for Halloween, but also Marvel fan art. I would not try to sell these. These are not something that, I would try to do, because it's not my stuff. This is just for me, because they hurt my feelers, okay? So I did a little bit of some pockets, and I used a 1/4 inch end mill for that, an upcut end mill, so you have a pretty nice finished flat piece when it's done. I did some V-carving, and on, I think it's the last one that I do, I actually had to use clearance tool paths, but for the majority of them I didn't have to use any clearance tool paths. And with my clearance tool paths, I just did my normal. I did the clearance with the 1/4 inch end mill, then a 1/8 inch end mill, and then a 1/16 inch end mill, and then onto the V-carve. And I used a 60-degree V-bit for my V-carves in these ones. I wanted it to have a real nice curve to it, like that real good slant, not curve, but slant. So very pretty. They turned out really nice. I designed all of these tombstones in V-Carve Pro using the freehand drawing tool as well as some shapes, some of their little shape tools that they have, you know, like the rectangle and that kind of stuff, the circles. And so I just created them, and then I used the edit node and I edited the nodes to where I got the shape exactly as I wanted it. So this one had probably the most worm action in all of them, and I think it gave it so much character. I really like that I had this wood and that I needed something to do with it, and it worked out perfectly, because I think it really made it look old. I mean, right now it's very bright, so it doesn't look very old, but I really do think it helped make it look old once I had it, you know, all the finishing work done. But very, very cool. So if you have some wood that you're like, I don't really know what to do with this, well, you know, think outside the box. Maybe you can make something look old. Maybe you can make something look a little different than what most people have, right? I don't know. It's what we're doing. It's what everybody's doing. And I'm sure it's probably even been done, and I just haven't seen it. It's all good. But I really like this. This is very cool. I was afraid a couple times that it was going to crack because there was some tear out and there were cracks, and I was like, oh no, this is not going to turn out great if it cracks. But it did not, so it's all good. And this one I had to do a little bit different because I wanted to kind of have a few different choices, because when you walk into a cemetery, you don't see, you know, not all of them look the same. You know, they're not uniform. Everybody's is different. So I decided I was going to make just a straight up, you know, cross. And so I went ahead and added the name on there, and then I used the miter saw to make a joint. What is it called? I don't remember what it's called. To make a joint to where they would fit on, and I didn't get it perfect, but it was the closest I've gotten so far, so I'm pretty proud of myself. Not that, you know, not that I couldn't have lowered it down and actually did a better job, but I was afraid that I was going to lower it too much, so I just left it and called it good. So once you get all the sanding done and the dust removed, you're going to want to start staining. So I'm using natural, and I also I picked up a can of what I thought was classic gray or weathered gray. Weathered gray. It turns out they came out with a new gray. I don't know when, but it's called Phantom Gray, and it is not right. So I'm using natural, I'm using dark walnut, and I used a little bit of that Phantom Gray after I tried to lighten it and stuff, but it was not what I wanted. So I had to just figure something else out. I didn't want to have to go back to the store, so I went ahead and I tried to fix it the best I could. You can still see some of that gray. It's so blue, and I love blue. But that's not what I was going for with this. I was trying to make the wood look old. So, oh well. It turned out in the end, but as of now, I was kind of feeling a little stressed out. I was like, oh no. And you have to wait the 24 hours for it to dry before you can do anything else. So it's like, oh, what did I do? But I do like how this wood really colored up with that natural. It kind of looks old on one side where the wood was a little more gray. And I really like that. But the rest of it looks like brand new wood, and you're like, oh, because if you want to make something look old, you don't want it to look so vibrant. You kind of want it to be a dull, kind of, almost color. So I just kept working it. I just wanted the dark walnut inside the words and kind of around the edges to give a little bit of, depth. And I take the natural and I go back over it whenever the dark walnut kind of started to leave marks, just to try to get rid of the marks where I didn't want them. And that worked out really well. So if you ever have that problem, it does darken the natural a little bit, where you're on the board where you're rubbing it, but it does take away the lines as long as you have the dark or the natural on there first. So I piled the natural on there, then I did the dark walnut and then removed it, and then I used the natural again to rub out any harsh lines that were there. So once it was all completely dry, I used some water and some gray Dixie Belle mineral paint, and I just did a little bit of kind of like whitewashing or gray washing, I don't know if that's what you want to call it. And on some of them I pretty much just did the dry brush technique, where you just try to get as much of that paint off of it as you possibly can, and then you just dry brush it on. And then I would rub with a rag to try to rub it in and try to get it, as good as I could without leaving streaks. Some of the streaks ended up being there because I didn't have my brush wet enough, but I think it turned out looking like it's kind of old. I think the weathered gray stain or whatever it's called would have been the best, but it's okay. It's okay. Live and you learn. Read it fully. Don't just grab because you see gray. But I'm used to it just being there, But anyways. So I made some little stakes out of some scrap wood that I had from one of the things that we built. Not even sure exactly which project this came from. But I made those stakes, just made a point on the end, and then I glued them onto the back using Titebond 3 and some clamps. So I seal these with this Olympic water guard. I don't know how good it is, but I mean, if they use it on decks and stuff, I'm sure it's perfect. It felt pretty smooth afterwards, which was kind of weird. It was almost like a rubber. It was weird, kind of rubbery feeling. I don't know. But I used that. I just sprayed it on and I let it dry, and then I flipped them over and sprayed the top, and I even sprayed the little stakes that I made, and just to try to keep it from, being damaged from any weather that we're going to have before Halloween. I mean, it's very likely that it'll happen. So I just wanted to protect it the best I could. All right, they are done. And I let them dry for more than 24 hours. We had a good amount of rain all the next day and part of the day prior to or after that. It's funny because we had a bunch of rain, but our grass is so thick. My husband takes amazing care of the grass, and so do the boys. Like, they go and they cut it. My husband does all of the, fertilizing and all that stuff. And so I couldn't get them, I couldn't get them in the ground. I was so frustrated. So I tried and I tried. I was putting my weight on it. I'm not a light person, okay? So I had to have my son do it because he's strong. I got to get the muscle in there. So this is Isaac. He is a senior in high school. And so he is pushing those things down the best he can. It was a pain. It was a pain. He was like, oh my goodness, they're not going down. And I'm like, I know. And not very comfortable on the hands either, mind you. I'm trying to tell him where I want them. Poor guy. I had him working. And sorry about the hand in front of the camera. I was explaining. So he did good though. He did good. So I love it. They're looking beautiful. The unfortunate part is that once I put the lights down, I did not like the way it looked. As you can see, it looks really silly. So all that hard work that my kiddo put in, we had to change it because Mama wasn't happy. So my husband and I rearranged them, put them in a straight line, and I think that looks a lot better. And I was able just to pile the lights in front, so no zigzag, no weird, I don't know, no weird lines in the grass. So I think this will work better. It doesn't look quite as cool the way they're just straight across, but it's okay. will deal, and I'm sure that the little trick-or-treaters are not going to care. They're just excited to go and get free candy. That's the truth, right? That's what it's all about. They get to dress up in something cool. You know, my boys wanted to be Ninja Turtles and all those things, and so, yeah, that's pretty much what they want to do. They want to dress up and go get their free candy. So I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time.